We were having dinner one night with my family, my daughter and son, and my wife and I, and I was trying to explain to my son the difference between the North and the South. Now, I grew up in the South. I grew up in a small town of 280 people in the Appalachian Mountains of Virginia. I married a woman from Long Island, New York. It created some issues within my family, but that's a whole other story. But I was trying to explain to my son the difference between the North and the South, and I explained to him, I said, where I grew up, I went to Patrick Henry High School. We were the Patrick Henry Rebels. There was a huge Confederate flag painted on the side of our stadium, and every time the football team scored a touchdown, the band played Dixie. And I said, that's not appropriate. We don't do that anymore. And my son just had this painful look on his face. He said, Dad, you went to high school during the Civil War? So contrary to what you may believe in the school system today, some children are left behind, apparently. My philosophy about how we do that is to do things well and make them fun. Sometimes I think we miss the opportunity to make the process of pursuing excellence a little more fun for those around us. And my belief is that if you do things well and then you add a little fun, it's a magic combination. And I'll just give you this suggestion to think about this magic combination. If you ever had a boss who was really good at what he or she did but was fun to be around, you would do anything for that person. You wanted to work. You wanted to produce. And so I'm going to suggest to you that you think about that in your roles, in your leadership roles. How are you creating a foundation of excellence, and how are you making the process and the environment more enjoyable for the people that you work with or who work for you? I went to my dentist office a few months ago, and my dentist is in one of these complexes. It's really condos, and each one is a different medical building. And there weren't any parking spaces before in front of his office, so I parked next door. I got out of my car, and there was a sign on the door of that building that said, Dr. Joseph Smith, eye, ears, nose, and throat, rear entrance. And let me just say to you that I think you were given a bit of misinformation, because the clear message when you were told to grow up and act your age and be serious and don't be funny, the clear message there was that it was all about seriousness. And I think somehow we believe this myth that growing up and being responsible, being a successful adult in whatever job we pursue, is about being serious. And it's not. It has nothing to do with being serious, but it has everything to do with being good at what you do. Best outcomes is about being excellent in everything you do. That's way more important than being serious. And then when you add a little bit of humor to it, you take that excellence to a whole nother level. And there's where I think we can tap into a new kind of success. Southwest Airlines, I believe, has done this. Excuse me. They are a little bit of a cliche example, but they are the people out there that are excellent about this. If you've never read the book Nuts about Southwest Airlines, I encourage you to do so, because it describes the culture of Southwest, how they started off as underdogs, and they fought together to create this culture in this organization where they not only do things well, but they make it fun. Southwest Airlines has been profitable every year of its existence. After 9/11, they did not lay anybody off because they channeled the money that was going into unnecessary at the time projects like some building projects and other things like that, and they filtered it back into salaries so they wouldn't lay anybody off. They are an excellent organization, but they also make it fun. So I wanted to see this firsthand. So I went up to Baltimore, which is about an hour from me, and I wanted to meet with the Director of Human Resources, who is actually called the Director of People. That's her title. She's not called the Director of Human Resources. She's called the Director of People. So I made an arrangement to go up and meet with her, and I walked into their office, and the first thing I noticed was off to the right was the receptionist. But she was not called the receptionist. She was called the Director of First Impression. What a great idea. She knew exactly what her job was. Over her head was an oxygen mask hanging out of the ceiling. I thought that was funny. And on the desk was a bobblehead doll of the CEO. I'm thinking, Bill, this is the direction we go here. So when I walked in the office, I took one step in the office, and the Director of First Impressions jumps out of her chair, runs over, hugs me, and says, "You must be Ron. We have been dying to meet you. And by the way, this is Southwest Airlines. We don't do handshakes here." Wow. I've never experienced that anywhere else. Nobody hugged me in here today. I'm just pointing out. And it was unlike any other experience. And then Mary, the director of people, came and she took me on a tour, and I'm walking through this building, and I'm looking at murals on the wall that the employees had painted. Every cubicle and every office is decorated by things that people bring in, so you can see the person's personality right there in front of you. And it's an amazing thing. You get a sense for who people are without ever meeting them. And then she said, but we also want to have fun. We want to do things where people enjoy it. So she said, let me give you an example. She said, the senior leaders here at Southwest often will come down and work the front lines so that they don't forget what it's like to be on the front line. And let me suggest to you that there are very few industries where I think it is more important for the senior leaders to not lose touch with the front line than in healthcare. Because it's easy to do. I've been there. I wasn't in a middle management job for very long before I felt disconnected already. So Southwest integrates it into the culture. They spend a certain amount of time each year on the front lines. So in Baltimore, they had a senior VP who came to work the ramp. The ramp is where the planes turn into the gate. And they're the people with the orange sticks. So they gave this woman, the senior VP, 2 orange sticks and said, all you have to do is when the plane turns to come into the gate, simply do this with the sticks. That's all you have to do. She said, I can do that. So the first plane came, it started to turn. She stuck her hand in the air and did those orange sticks like this. The plane did a 360. And she starts freaking out. She's going like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Turns out they had set the whole thing up. They contacted the pilot. They said, we got a senior VP here. Let's have a little fun with her. But you know what? That's what Southwest is all about. And that senior VP supports that behavior. Nobody got in trouble. And see, here's the thing I think we sometimes think is that if we have a little fun in what we're doing, we're wasting time. I believe that if we have a little fun in what we're doing, we're going to be more productive. We're going to put more effort into it. We're going to want to work. We're going to want to contribute. So I'm standing there waiting for my luggage, and I see a suitcase goes by, another suitcase, a woman's bra, another suitcase. And right there on the conveyor belt, all by itself, no busted up luggage, nothing, just by itself, is a woman's bra. And I don't know about you, but my first thought was, how's that happen? I mean, I'm not an engineer. Can they just pop off? I mean, I don't... And my second thought is, and who's going to pick it up? And that thing just went round and round and round. Nobody touched it. Finally, it went behind the wall, just didn't come back. But I'm thinking, that's great. That balanced my day. Whatever's going on that day, it bounces. I'm more balanced. I then deal with other people more effectively. You know, it works. But same trip, I'm still waiting for my luggage, and in through those rubber flaps comes the single ugliest piece of luggage I have ever seen in my entire life. It was made of some sort of burlap, rugged burlap, old, beat up, and it was plaid. And it was pink and orange and yellow and green plaid, and it's coming towards me, and it just looks hideous. And I'm just thinking about how ugly it is, and it gets right in front of me, and I noticed that the owner had put one of those rainbow straps on it so you could distinguish it among the other luggage. Herb Kelleher, the CEO of Southwest Airlines, said if work was more fun, it wouldn't feel so much like work. What a concept. So how do you do that? How do you manage that? Well, first of all, you make sure that you're managing the processes and making them work. You've got to make sure that the processes are effective. Give you an example, a clinical example. When I was 25 years old, I had a kidney stone, and I knew I had a kidney stone because previously, like 2 years before that, my dad had had one, and I'd watched him go through it. I watched the symptoms. So I knew I had a kidney stone. And what happened with him was we live in a small town, so it's 4 in the morning, we called the doctor. The doctor came over, gave my dad a shot of Demerol, got him set up for the hospital. They took him to the hospital, and he was actually in the hospital for 9 days with his kidney stone. So I woke up one morning, I knew I had a kidney stone, so I got a friend to take me to the ER. I went to the ER, and I said, I think I have a kidney stone. I probably need some Demerol. Let me suggest you not say that right off the bat. They put you through more tests that way. Well, anyway, so one of the tests that you may know this because you're involved in healthcare, many of you are clinicians by training, so you may know this, that one of the tests you have to get if you are suspected of having a kidney stone is a prostate exam. Well, not all of you, but the men have to get a prostate exam. And if you've never had a prostate exam, it involves a finger and a glove. I was 25 years old. I had avoided that particular procedure my entire life. I was quite proud of that. But I knew if I didn't submit to this exam, I wasn't getting my Demerol. And I was in a world of hurt, so I submitted the exam. So in the middle of this prostate exam, the doctor says to me, and I quote, "Do you feel any unusual discomfort?" And I'm thinking to myself, this must be what it feels like to be a Muppet. A friend of mine said to me, what you should have said was, while you're up there, will you please tell my wife my head is not there? So needless to say, he wasn't a fun-loving guy because he wasn't having any of this. So it was not a good experience for me, all right? So it might have been done well, but it wasn't a fun process. Fast forward 5 years, I am at my family practice doctor. And he wants me to go through this procedure too for my annual physical. So I am laying in the fetal position on one of these tables, these exam tables, facing away from my doctor. So I am facing the wall. And I'm laying there, and as I'm on the table, I notice that on the wall is a Post-it note right where my head is. And written on that Post-it note, it says, "My view is worse than yours."